Hello everyone. Politically correct bedtime stories, modern tales for our life and times. James Finn Garner. My new book. Once upon a time, in the olden days, heavy-set middle-aged men would congregate in their elitist clubs, sit in overstuffed leather chairs, smoke air-choking cigars, and pitch story ideas and plots to each other. Problem was, these stories, many of which found their way into the general social consciousness, reflected the way in which these men lived and saw their world. That is, the stories were sexist, discriminatory, unfair, culturally biased, and in general demeaning to witches, animals, goblins, and fairies everywhere. Finally, after centuries of these abusive tales, which have been handed down unknowingly from one male-biased generation to the next, James Finn Garner has taken it upon himself, that's right, yet another man, to enlighten and liberate these classic bedtime stories and retell them in a way that is much more in keeping with the society in which we live today. Politically correct bedtime stories, then, is the fruit of Garner's labors. We'd like to think that future generations of fairy tale fans will see this as a worthy attempt to develop meaningful literature that is totally free from bias and purged from the influences of flawed cultural past. Rapunzel. There once lived an economically disadvantaged tinker and his wife. His lack of material accomplishment is not meant to imply that all tinkers are economically marginalized, or that if they are, they deserve to be so. While the archetype of the tinker is generally the whipping person in classical bedtime stories, this particular individual was a tinker by trade and just happened to be economically disadvantaged. The tinker and his wife lived in a lovely Whoville, next to the modest estate of a local witch. From their window they could see the witch's meticulously kept garden, a nauseating attempt to impose human notions of order onto nature. The wife of the tinker was pregnant, and as she gazed at the witch's garden, she began to crave some lettuce she saw growing there. She begged the tinker to jump the fence and get some for her. The tinker finally submitted, and at night he jumped the wall, liberated some of the lettuce. But before he could get back, the witch caught him. Now this witch was very kindness impaired. This is not meant to imply that all or even some witches are that way, nor to deny this particular witch her right to express whatever disposition came naturally to her. Far from it. Her disposition was without doubt due to many factors of her upbringing and socialization, which unfortunately must be omitted here in the interest of brevity. As mentioned earlier, the witch was kindness impaired, and the tinker was extremely frightened. She held him by the scruff of the neck and asked, "Where are you going with my lettuce?" The tinker might have argued with her over the concept of ownership and stated that the lettuce rightfully belonged to anyone who was hungry and had nerve enough to take it. Instead, in a degraded spectacle, he pleaded for mercy. "It was my wife's fault," he cried, in characteristically male manner. "She is pregnant and has a craving for some of your lovely lettuce. Please spare me. Although a single-parent household is certainly acceptable, please don't kill me and deprive my child of a stable two-parent family structure." The witch thought for a moment, and then let go of the tinker's neck and disappeared without a word. The tinker gratefully went home with the lettuce. A few months later, and after agonizing pain that a man will never really be able to appreciate, the tinker's wife gave birth to a beautiful, healthy pre-woman. They named the baby Rapunzel, after a type of lettuce. Not long after this, the witch appeared at their door, demanding that they give her the child in return for the witch's having spared the tinker's life in the garden. What could they do? Their powerless station in life had always left them open to exploitation, and this time they felt they had no alternative. They gave Rapunzel to the witch, who sped away. The witch took the child deep into the woods and imprisoned her in a tall tower, the symbolism of which should be obvious. There Rapunzel grew to womanhood. The tower had no door or stairs, but it did boast a single window at the top. The only way for anyone to get to the window, was for Rapunzel to let down her long, luxurious hair and climb it to the top, the symbol of symbolism of which should be also obvious. The witch was Rapunzel's only companion. She would stand at the foot of the tower and shout, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I might climb up your golden stair." Rapunzel obediently did as she was told. Thus, for years, she let her body be exploited for the transportational needs of another. The witch loved music and taught Rapunzel to sing. They passed many long hours singing together in the tower. One day, a young prince rode near the tower and heard Rapunzel singing. But as he rode closer to find the source of the lovely sound, he spied the witch and hid himself and his equine. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'll spell it for you. Equine. I know what it means. I don't know how to pronounce it at the moment. Sorry. Anyhow, this companion in the trees. He watched as the witch called out to Rapunzel. The hair fell down, and the witch climbed up. Again he heard the beautiful singing. Later, when the witch finally exited the tower and disappeared in the other direction, the prince came out of the woods and called up, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I might climb your golden stair." The hair cascaded from the window, and he climbed up. When the prince saw Rapunzel, her greater than average physical attractiveness and her long, luxurious hair led him to think, in a typically lookist way, that her personality would also be beautiful. This is not to imply that all princes judge people solely on their appearance, nor to deny this particular prince his right to make such assumptions. Please see the disclaimers in the paragraphs above. The prince said, "Oh, beautiful damsel, I heard you singing as I rode by on my horse. Please sing for me again." Rapunzel didn't know what to make of this person, since she had never seen a man up close before. He seemed a strange creature, large, hairy in the face, and possessing a strong, musky odor. For reasons she could not explain, Rapunzel found this combination somewhat attractive and opened her mouth to sing. "Stop right there," screamed a voice from the window. The witch had returned. How did you get up here?" Rapunzel asked. "I had an extra set of hair made, in case of emergency," said the witch matter-of-factly, "and this certainly looks like one. Listen to me, Prince. I built this tower to keep Rapunzel away from men like you. I taught her to sing, training her voice for years. She'll stay here and sing for no one but me, because I am the only one who truly loves her." "We can talk about your codependency problems later," said the prince, "but first let me hear Rapunzel. Is it Rapunzel, is it? Let me hear Rapunzel sing." "No," screamed the witch. "I'm going to throw you from the tower into the thorn of color bushes below, so that your eyes will be gouged out and you'll wander the countryside cursing your bad luck for the rest of your life." "You may want to reconsider that," said the prince. "I have some friends in the recording industry, you see, who would be very interested in Rapunzel, wasn't it? Different, kind of catchy, I suppose." "I knew it. You want to take her away from me." "No, no. I want you to continue to train her, to nurture her, as her manager," said the prince. "Then, when the time is right, say a week or two, you can unleash her talent on the world, and we can all rake in the cash." The witch paused for a second to think about this, and her demeanor visibly softened. She and the prince began to discuss record contracts and video deals, as well as possible marketing ideas, including lifelike Rapunzel dolls, with their very own miniature stereo tune towers. As Rapunzel watched, her suspicions turned into revulsion. For years her hair had been exploited for the transportational needs of others. Now they wanted to exploit her voice as well. So rapaciousness doesn't depend solely on gender, she realized with a sigh. Rapunzel edged her way to the window without being seen. She stepped out and climbed down the second set of hair to the prince's waiting horse. She dislodged the hair and took it with her as she rode off, leaving the witch and the prince to argue about royalties and percentages in their phallus-shaped tower. Rapunzel rode to the city and rented a room in a building that had real stairs. She later established the non-profit Foundation for the Free Proliferation of Music and cut off her hair for a fundraising auction. She sang for free in coffee houses and art galleries for the rest of her days, always refusing to exploit for money other people's desires to hear her sing. So, I decided to make this video into a little bit of a video on programming and indoctrination and brainwashing, to be put in a frank way. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I think that just about everybody rejects the idea that they have been programmed or brainwashed from an emotional and perhaps from other places, psychological or whatnot, from deep places. I think that nobody really really wants to believe that they've been tricked into believing something that's not true, or that they're programmed, that they're not acting from a place of sense or true knowing, that they've been tricked. And I think people feel shame around that. To a lot of people, it's been commonly understood and common knowledge that television, to some degree, brainwashes people, and commercials, that there's some brainwashing going on there for some time now. But this seems to be something that a lot of people keep on the surface and brush off their shoulders, rather than doing anything about or looking deeply into that. And I think this is why, because of the emotions that are attached to the truth of it. I think that a lot of people most people know of specific things, have evidence in their awareness, such as the quick clips that are only fractions of a second long that get put on television and get put on movie theater screens and things, that your subconscious absorbs, but that doesn't make it into your conscious awareness. I forget how short these are, but they're really, really short. Your consciousness doesn't register them, but your subconsciousness does. And these things are like in the movie theaters. One example is them flashing a picture of buttered popcorn on the screen, so you don't see it and register it with your conscious mind, but it goes into your unconscious mind, and this manipulates you into craving popcorn. Well, it manipulates a number of the people. It's effective with a number of the people. This goes on and on and on, of different things in society and the media, and our culture, that are manipulative and that contribute to our programming and indoctrination, or brainwashing. I think brainwashing is a hard word for people to take in, because to say that you've been brainwashed is a challenge to your intelligence. That's how it's perceived, I think. But really, I don't think that it's something to brush off and ignore in shame, or to stay in denial about, out of shame. I think that just about all of us have been affected by this. Just about all of us have not completely healed from this and are living with some of this and are acting from these places. And I think that it's important to do what you can to step outside of it and to back away from it. To use a metaphor, in martial arts, avoidance is one of the tactics to be used. So if somebody is attacking you, you can block it, you can redirect the energy, and you can step aside. And I think it's important to try and step aside, step away from these things when we know what's going on. So I don't watch cable TV. I haven't for a long time, a very long time. I keep a cloth over my TV to shield EMF waves. There's a lot of things that are very real and are true and that affect us, that the media and other forms of carrying on this system of programming and indoctrinating and manipulating people work hard to keep out of our awareness, to keep us in the dark about, to keep us ignoring. So a lot of these things, you hear about them, but a lot of people will shrug them off as either radical or as hoopla or that kind of thing. So EMF waves are real, they're scientifically documented, but I know a lot of people are just like, EMF waves, whatever. These things are affecting you, and ignoring problems does not make them go away. I really realize and see that in this day and age and time that we're in right now, we have a lot on our plate. But we can take one bite at a time, and we can work through these things, and we can start to heal from them and start to be more authentic, more ourselves, more true, more in tuned and aware, more connected to nature, and broaden our awareness in regards to nature and our interconnectedness with the planet and life on this planet. So I think I'm going to close the video up pretty soon. Hopefully there will be some more talking on this subject from me that I can share with you. And please do leave comments, questions, get some dialogue running in my comment section or elsewhere. So I just want to, before I wrap it up, say just a couple quick things, give you a couple specifics that you can work with, although I think it's very important to do what I said and generally try and step away and look at the picture. It's, to use another metaphor, maybe if you're in an art museum and you're looking at a painting and you're up real close, it's going to look distorted, you're not going to understand what's going on. Try and take some steps back and look at the bigger picture, look at the whole thing. Some specifics that I've found help. Meditating helps raise your awareness and bring you back into your intuition and your senses and your connectiveness to the intelligence of the universe and the natural world, what's going on around you. And that can be empowering and help you to see what is what with the artificial. Meditation changes our brain waves and has us thinking differently. So it's important to exercise those other brain waves and to give rest to the brain waves that we use during other times of the day. So that's something. Going outside, getting back into the natural world, what's around you, observing things, relaxing, bonding with nature. I call it that, but just enjoying it, observing things, being present, okay, can be very helpful. There's a lot to that why, but just to kind of give you a quick something around that, having to do with our attention. Now, if we go out into nature, we go take a walk in the woods or a path or something, even down our street, and we have our headphones on and we're texting every now and then, and we're thinking about other things in our life. We're thinking about work or something you're going to write or whatever it might be, your relationships. Your attention is dispersed all over the place, and you are not going to see what is around you in as much detail. You're not going to take as much in. Let me try to do it from the other direction. If you are walking out in nature and you leave these distractions behind and you focus on what you are doing and you are present and connect with nature, you will observe things in your natural surroundings, the natural world which you are a part of, the shapes of the clouds, what's going on with the trees, the quality of the dirt, the plants. Do they look healthy? Do they look sick? How many bees are there about? These kinds of things which really affect us and are really important. So also, I don't know, there's a lot of them, and this video is getting kind of long, and I don't want it to be too long of a video because I've done some long videos lately. So I think I'm just going to give you that and leave you with that for now, and set my intention to make another video on this topic soon. And I'll give you another story. This is a great book. I'm kind of giving myself away here on my recommended yearly book list this year, because I've gave some hints to another book I'm going to recommend, and this one is going to make it too, I'm pretty sure. So, Politically Correct Bedtime Stories, Modern Tales for Our Life and Times by James Finn Garner. Great book. Alright, I will be talking to you soon. Everyone, be well.